On to the next section, we're going to work on gradients. It's in our JJ Custom workflow operation. Gradients, just make sure that sharpening is selected, and then click on gradient here, and then hit play. And you'll notice right away it makes your image darker. That's not what we want, but we're going to just highlight the subject here, and we're going to turn the background darker. Because it's a white mask, we can paint on with black. So select this little dot here, and if it's on white, switch it to black. And then we'll make sure we have a brush selected, and we will increase it with the right bracket. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start painting over our subject. So we start painting over our subject. We make sure the flow and the opacity is on 100%. And we're just going to paint over our subject. And this will make a little bit more sense here in a minute. This brush is a little bit too big, but we have a lot of area to cover here. So just make sure that our whole subject is painted over. And we can view how much we've painted over by holding the Option key and clicking on the mask, and you can see there's some spots that we missed. It does take it a second sometimes let's let it catch up. Okay. All right. I'm going to hit save here because Photoshop was acting a little strange. It is a good idea to save often. Usually after each one of these sections, I will save. So if I do frequency separation and I hit the action button, I do some work in it, I save periodically. Just hit Command S or go up to File, Save. When we did Save As in the beginning, we put it in the PSD folder. So if anything happens, usually there's an auto-save feature that generally tends to bring you right back where you were. But sometimes you might miss a few steps and slow you down. So if you save often, if your Photoshop crashes or something, you can easily recover it. When you do get this far along, where you've done a lot of things, especially with the Nick collection filters and things like that, smart filters, it does take a little bit longer to save. You can see it just finished saving here. So let's go back to our brush. Let's take the flow down a little bit. There it is. All right, back up to 100, and let's go along the edge of her real quick. And remember, we're painting black onto a white mask. So really getting along these edges, because you can see when we used the bigger brush, it was wider, but we didn't want it to be too plainly obvious. Sometimes you lose your brush to the system trying to render what you just did. So I move a little bit faster than the system does. So I have to wait a little bit sometimes for it to catch up. So this may not look like we're doing much, but in fact, we're essentially making the background darker, and we're going to make our subject pop out a little bit. And then just along the edges, and okay, so let that catch up, and then we click on this, and it looks like we were not, it wasn't recording it. I think maybe the screen recording is causing it to lapse a little bit there. I'm okay with it. Let's add another gradient. And the way you do that is with this layer selected, we add a gradient. And it pops up with this weird filter. If you like that, that's great, but we're going to use this one. And it's linear, so we can choose the angle, and I kind of like this angle. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it up a little bit, maybe about 200%. 150. Doesn't look right now, but in a second this will all make sense. Okay, and then we are going to take this white filter and we're going to invert it by hitting Command I. So now it's not showing, our gradient's not showing, and we're going to go to the gradient tool and we're going to draw on a gradient. So we have a sunlight coming in from this direction, so I'm going to emulate that a little bit, and I'm just going to click and drag. Let's try that again. Let's make that white, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. And we'll click and drag from this direction to that direction. And for some reason it is not doing it, so I'll hit save. And I think the Photoshop froze. This is great. You can see what it really looks like when you get something done and then it crashes on you. So alright, let's take that opacity down and see if that works. Yeah, it is not doing it. It's not responding. I'm going to restart it real quick. So let's quit. Save. This will take a second.